Let me finish this myself. No, from now on, we finish everything together. From a very young age, he learned how to stand on his own. Life had taught him early that waiting for help often meant waiting too long. So he became the kind of person who did not wait. If something needed to be done, he did it himself. If there was a problem, he stayed quiet and searched for a solution alone. People around him often said he was strong, responsible, and dependable. They trusted him with difficult tasks because they knew he would not complain and would not walk away. On the outside, he looked calm and confident, like someone who always had control over his life. Inside, however, his world was very different. He carried many thoughts that no one could see. He worried about doing things perfectly. He worried about letting people down. He worried about failing, even when no one expected perfection from him. These worries stayed in his mind day and night. Still, he never spoke about them. He believed that sharing his worries would only make others think he was weak. So he smiled, nodded, and said everything was fine, even when it was not. At work, he was known as the person who never said no. If someone needed extra help, he stayed late. If a task was difficult, he took it on himself. If there was pressure, he carried it quietly. His desk was often the last one with the light on. While others went home to rest, he stayed behind, telling himself that he could handle it. He told himself that being tired was normal. He told himself that stress was just part of life. What he did not realize was how slowly this way of living was draining his energy. In his personal life, he acted the same way. When friends asked how he was doing, he gave short, simple answers. "I'm fine. Everything is okay." He did not want to explain. He did not want to worry anyone. He did not want to become a burden. So he kept his problems locked inside his own heart. Even when he felt heavy, even when his mind felt full, he chose silence over sharing. To him, silence felt safer than opening up. She was someone who paid attention to small things. She noticed the tired look in his eyes. She noticed how he took deep breaths when he thought no one was watching. She noticed how his smile sometimes looked forced, as if he was trying hard to hide something. She could feel that he was carrying more than he showed. She did not push him at first. She respected his space and his independence. But in her heart, she worried about him. Whenever she gently asked if he needed help, he gave the same answer. "Let me finish this myself." He said it with a calm voice, but it had become a habit, almost like a shield. Those words helped him feel in control. They made him feel strong. They made him feel safe from depending on others. To him, finishing things alone meant proving that he could handle life on his own. But doing everything alone slowly started to change him. He became more tired than usual. He lost interest in small joys. Things that once made him smile now felt like extra work. Even simple conversations felt heavy. Still, he pushed forward. He believed that stopping or slowing down would mean failure. So he kept moving, even when his body and mind asked for rest. There were nights when he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything he still had to do. His mind moved from one worry to another. He planned, he calculated, he prepared for problems that had not even happened yet. He told himself that this was being responsible. In truth, it was fear mixed with a strong desire to stay in control. He did not want to feel helpless. He did not want to feel like he needed anyone. She could see that he was slowly pulling away from people. He was still kind. He was still polite, but he was not fully present. His mind was always somewhere else, thinking, planning, worrying. Sometimes when she talked to him, he listened. but she could tell that his thoughts were far away. It hurt her to see him like this, not because he was weak, but because he was trying so hard to be strong in a way that was hurting him. He did not understand that letting people in did not mean losing strength. In his past, he had learned that trusting too much could lead to disappointment. Somewhere along the way, he decided that relying on himself was the safest choice. That belief shaped his whole life. It helped him survive difficult times, but now it was also making life heavier than it needed to be. Every time she offered support, he thanked her but refused. He believed he was protecting both of them. He thought that if he handled everything alone, she would not have to worry. He thought that this was love in his own way. But she saw it differently. She saw a man who was tired, who was trying to carry the world on his shoulders without rest. To others, he looked successful and strong. They praised his hard work. They admired his independence. They did not see the silent pressure inside him. They did not see how often he told himself to keep going, even when he felt close to his limit. They did not see how much effort it took for him to appear calm every day. Deep inside, a small part of him wished someone would truly understand. A small part of him wanted to share the weight, but that part was quiet. His louder voice was the one that said, "Handle it yourself." That voice had guided him for so long that he did not know any other way to live. This was the life he had built, a life of strength on the outside and silence on the inside, a life where he solved problems alone and carried stress without showing it. He believed this made him reliable. He believed this made him strong. What he did not yet understand was that this habit, which once protected him, was now slowly making his world smaller and heavier. And this was only the beginning of a change he did not yet see coming. As time passed, the pressure he carried inside did not stay hidden as easily as before. Even though he tried to act normal, small changes in his behavior began to appear. He became quieter in meetings. He took longer to answer messages. Sometimes he stared at his screen without really seeing it, his mind filled with too many thoughts at once. People around him started to notice that something was different, even if they could not explain exactly what it was. He made small mistakes that were not like him. He forgot simple things. He missed small details that he usually caught easily. Each mistake made him feel more frustrated with himself. Instead of asking for help, he became more strict with himself. He told himself to work harder, to focus more, to push through. He believed that if he just tried a little more, everything would go back to normal. She noticed these changes very clearly. She saw how his shoulders looked heavier, how his walk was slower, how his eyes looked tired even in the morning. She could sense that he was not resting well. Sometimes she saw him rubbing his eyes or taking deep breaths as if he was trying to calm a storm inside his chest. She wanted to help, but she also knew that he did not like to talk about his struggles. One day, a small task turned into a bigger problem. It was something that normally would not be difficult for him. But because his mind was full and his energy was low, it became harder than it should have been. He spent hours trying to fix it alone. The more he tried, the more tired he became. His patience grew thin. His thoughts became negative. He started to doubt himself in ways he never had before. Instead of stepping back, he pushed forward. He skipped breaks. He stayed late. He told himself that rest could wait. He believed that finishing the task was more important than his own well-being. But the truth was that his body and mind were asking for a pause. He ignored those signs because he did not want to appear weak or incapable. She could see that this situation was different. It was not just normal stress. It was something deeper. She watched him struggle in silence. She saw how he avoided eye contact when he felt overwhelmed. She saw how he forced a small smile when someone asked if he was okay. These small moments told her a big story. They told her that he was carrying too much alone. When the task became more complicated, others offered to help. They said kind words and gave simple suggestions. Each time, he politely refused. He said he had it under control. He said he would manage. Inside, though, he felt like he was losing control. He felt like the ground under his feet was slowly shaking. But he did not let anyone see that fear. Late one evening, when most people had already left, he was still there. The room was quiet. The lights felt too bright. The silence made his thoughts even louder. He looked at his work and felt a heavy feeling in his chest. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly overwhelmed. Not just tired, but mentally exhausted. He realized that no matter how hard he tried, he could not fix everything alone that night. She came by and saw him still there. She could tell by his face that something was wrong. His usual calm look was gone. In its place was a tired, serious expression. She did not ask many questions at first. She simply sat nearby, giving him a quiet presence. Sometimes, just knowing someone is there can make a big difference. He tried to act normal. He made a small joke. He said he was almost done, but his voice did not sound confident. She listened carefully. She noticed the weakness in his tone. She noticed how his hands moved slowly, how his energy was low. She could feel that he was close to his limit. For a moment, he thought about opening up. He thought about saying how tired he was. He thought about admitting that he needed help. But old habits are strong. The words stayed in his throat. He chose silence again. He chose to protect his image instead of sharing his truth. The situation continued to grow heavier. What started as a simple issue became something that affected his confidence. He started to question his abilities. He wondered if he was losing his edge. He wondered if people would stop trusting him. These thoughts added even more pressure. Instead of seeing this as a temporary struggle, he saw it as a personal failure. She watched all of this quietly. In her heart, she felt a mix of concern and sadness. Not because he was failing, but because he was being too hard on himself. She knew he was capable. She knew he was strong. But she also knew that even strong people need support. She wished he could see that needing help did not change his value. One small moment made everything feel more real. He made a mistake that others noticed. It was not a big disaster, but it was enough for him to feel embarrassed. His face became serious. He became quiet. Inside, his thoughts were loud. He felt like he had disappointed himself and others. After that, his walls became even stronger. He spoke less. He focused more. He isolated himself emotionally. He believed that if he just worked harder, he could fix everything. He did not realize that working harder was not the same as working healthier. He was running on empty, but he refused to stop. She could see that he was reaching a breaking point, not in a dramatic way, but in a slow, quiet way. The kind of breaking that happens when someone is tired for too long. The kind that shows in small mistakes, heavy sighs, and tired eyes. She knew that if nothing changed, things would only get worse. Deep inside him, there was a growing feeling that something was wrong. He did not want to admit it, but he could feel it. His usual strength was not enough anymore. The problems felt heavier. The nights felt longer. The days felt more tiring. He was still moving forward, but with less confidence and more fear. This silent struggle was becoming visible. Even if he did not say the words, his body and his actions were telling the truth. He was carrying more than he could handle alone, and without realizing it, He was moving closer to a moment that would force a change, whether he was ready for it or not. The tension that had been building for a long time finally reached a point where it could no longer stay hidden. Even though he tried to act normal, there was a heaviness around him that people could feel. His silence was louder than words. His tired face, slow movements, and quiet nature told a story that he was not willing to speak. She had been watching this for a long time, and inside her a strong feeling grew that she could not stay quiet anymore. She chose a calm moment, a time when there were no other people around, and the noise of the day had settled. She did not want to embarrass him or make him feel small. She wanted to speak from care, not from anger. When she looked at him, she saw someone who was strong but tired, someone who was trying to carry too much alone. That sight gave her courage to finally say what had been in her heart for so long. He was working quietly when she approached him. She could see how focused he looked, but also how tense his face was. His jaw was tight, his shoulders were raised. These were signs of stress, even if he did not realize it. She stood near him for a moment, just watching, trying to choose the right words. She knew that what she was about to say could change something important between them. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle. She asked him if he was truly okay. At first, he gave the usual answer. He said he was fine. He said he just needed to finish a few things. He did not look at her directly. His eyes stayed on his work, as if looking at her would make the truth harder to hide. She did not accept that answer this time. She could hear the tiredness in his voice. She could feel that his words did not match what she was seeing. She told him that she had noticed how tired he was. She told him that she could see how much pressure he was under. She did not accuse him. She did not raise her voice. She simply spoke honestly. For a moment, he felt uncomfortable. He was not used to someone seeing through his mask so clearly. He felt exposed, even though she had not said anything harsh. He wanted to protect himself, so his old habit came out. He said the words he had said so many times before. "Let me finish this myself." As soon as he said it, he felt a small wall go up between them. It was a wall he had built many times in his life. It was made of pride, fear, and a strong need to stay in control. He expected her to step back, like others usually did. He expected her to respect his space and let him continue alone. But this time was different. She did not step back. She took a slow breath and looked at him with steady eyes. There was no anger in her face. There was no disappointment. There was only care and strength. Then she said the words that would stay in his mind for a long time. "No, from now on, we finish everything together." Those words surprised him. He was not ready for that answer. For a second, he did not know what to say. His mind searched for a response, but nothing came. He had spent so long telling people to stay out of his struggles that he had forgotten how it felt when someone refused to leave. At first, his reaction was confusion. Part of him wanted to argue. Part of him wanted to say that he did not need help. He felt his chest tighten. He felt his old fears rise up. What if he looked weak? What if she saw him differently? What if he lost the image of being the strong one? These thoughts moved quickly through his mind. But there was something in her voice that made him pause. It was not a demand. It was not control. It was a promise that she was not going anywhere. A promise that he did not have to face everything alone anymore. That idea felt strange to him. It was both comforting and scary at the same time. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time he allowed himself to see her concern clearly. He saw that she was not trying to take away his strength. She was trying to protect him from carrying too much. In that moment, he realized that his way of being strong might not be the only way. The room felt very quiet. Even the smallest sounds felt loud. His thoughts slowed down. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. Relief. Just a small amount, but enough to notice. The idea that someone wanted to share his burden made his shoulders feel a little lighter. Still, letting go was not easy. He had trained himself for years to handle things alone. Trusting someone else felt like stepping into unknown space. He was afraid of being judged. He was afraid of being a disappointment. He was afraid of showing parts of himself that he usually kept hidden. She seemed to understand this without him saying a word. She did not rush him. She did not push him to explain everything. She simply stood there, calm and patient. Her presence said more than long speeches ever could. It said, "You are not alone, even if you are not ready to talk yet." Slowly, he took a deep breath. It was not a dramatic moment, but it was important. That breath was the first sign that he was considering a different way. He did not suddenly share all his worries. He did not suddenly become open. But something inside him shifted. A small door opened. He nodded slightly, not fully agreeing, but not fully refusing either. It was his quiet way of saying that he heard her. It was his way of saying that maybe, just maybe, he was tired of being alone in his struggles. That conversation did not solve everything. His problems did not disappear. His stress did not vanish. But something important changed. The idea that he had to carry everything alone was no longer the only option. For the first time, there was another path, a path where strength could mean sharing, not hiding. As she walked away, giving him space to think, he sat quietly. His work was still in front of him, but his mind was somewhere else. He kept hearing her words, "We finish everything together." They felt strange, but also warm. They felt like a challenge and a comfort at the same time. That moment became a turning point, even if he did not fully understand it yet. It was the moment when his old belief was questioned. It was the moment when someone refused to let him face everything alone. And deep inside, a small part of him felt thankful, even if he was not ready to say it out loud. After that important conversation, nothing changed all at once. There was no sudden magic. There was no big promise spoken out loud. But something small and powerful had begun. A quiet shift started inside him. The idea that he did not have to carry everything alone stayed in his mind. Even when he did not talk about it, those words kept returning to him. At first, he was unsure how to act. He still had the habit of handling things alone. Many times he almost said, "I'll do it myself." But then he paused. He remembered her steady voice. He remembered the look in her eyes. That memory made him stop and think. For the first time, he questioned his automatic response. That alone was a big change. She did not force herself into his work or his problems. She was careful. She knew trust takes time. Instead of pushing, she showed her support in small ways. Sometimes she asked simple questions. Sometimes she offered to sit with him while he worked. Sometimes she reminded him to take a break. These were small actions, but they carried a strong message. They said, "I am here." One day he faced a decision that usually would have been easy for him. But his mind felt tired, and he could not see the best path clearly. In the past, he would have made the choice alone and carried the result on his own shoulders. This time he hesitated. His heart beat a little faster. He felt nervous, but he did something different. He asked her what she thought. The words felt strange coming out of his mouth. Asking for someone's opinion felt like stepping out of his comfort zone. For a moment, he worried about how she would react, but she did not make a big deal out of it. She smiled gently and shared her thoughts. There was no judgment. There was no feeling of control. It was simply two people thinking together. That small moment gave him confidence. He realized that asking for help did not make him smaller. It made the problem feel lighter. The weight was no longer only on him. For the first time in a long while, he felt that his mind could rest for a few moments. Slowly, more small moments like this happened. Sometimes he shared a worry. Sometimes he admitted that he was tired. He did not go deep right away. He still kept many feelings inside. But even sharing a little felt different. It felt like opening a window in a closed room. Fresh air slowly came in. She continued to listen without trying to fix everything. That was important. He did not always need solutions. Sometimes he only needed to be heard. When she listened, he felt understood. That feeling was new for him. He was used to being the one who handled things, not the one who was supported. There were still days when he went back to his old ways. On those days, he became quiet again. He tried to take on too much. He forgot to share, but now she noticed and gently reminded him that he did not have to do everything alone. She did not blame him. She did not get angry. Her calm patience helped him feel safe. He began to notice changes in himself. Mia, Mia, Mia. His shoulders felt less heavy. His mind felt a little clearer. He slept slightly better. Not perfectly, but better than before. He still had stress, but it did not feel as crushing. Knowing that someone was beside him made a quiet but powerful difference. He also started to see her differently. He realized how strong she was in her own way. Not loud strength, not forceful strength, but steady strength. The kind that stays. The kind that supports without taking over. He respected her even more for that. He understood that teamwork did not mean losing himself. It meant building something together. There was a moment when he almost fell back into his old habit completely. A difficult situation appeared, and his first reaction was to shut down and handle it alone. He felt that familiar pressure rise in his chest. His thoughts became fast and heavy. For a short time he pushed her away emotionally, telling himself he would deal with it. But later, when he was alone, he felt the same old tiredness. He remembered how it felt before, when everything was on his shoulders. He realized that he did not want to go back to that life fully. That realization was important. It showed that something inside him had truly changed. The next day, he did something that surprised even himself. He went to her and told her that he was struggling. He did not explain everything. He did not give every detail. But he admitted that it was hard. That simple honesty felt like a big step. She did not react with shock. She did not say, "I told you so." She simply listened and stayed calm. In that moment, he felt a sense of peace. Not because the problem was solved, but because he was not alone with it. He realized that sharing did not make problems disappear, but it made them easier to face. It turned a heavy road into a shared journey. He started to understand that strength had many forms. There was the strength of working hard. There was also the strength of trusting someone. There was the strength of admitting when things were heavy. These ideas were new to him, but they were slowly becoming part of who he was. She never tried to change him completely. She accepted that he was independent by nature. She respected his need for space, but she also stood firm in her belief that no one should have to face everything alone. That balance made him feel safe. He did not feel trapped. He felt supported. With each shared moment, their connection grew stronger. They did not just work together. They understood each other better. He learned that letting someone in did not make him weak. It made his life fuller. It gave him a place to rest his tired thoughts. By the end of this phase, he was not a completely new person. He still had old habits. He still struggled sometimes. But now, he had a new choice. He could choose to share. He could choose to ask. He could choose to walk beside someone instead of always walking alone. This learning process was slow, but it was real. Step by step, he was building a new way of living, a way where he was still strong, still capable, but no longer alone. And even though he did not say it out loud, deep in his heart, he knew that this change was one of the best things that had happened to him. By this point in his journey, the change inside him was clear, even if it had happened slowly. He was no longer the same person who believed he had to face everything alone. The old habit of carrying all the weight by himself had not fully disappeared, but it no longer controlled him. Now, when a problem appeared, his first thought was not always to hide it. Sometimes his first thought was to share it. That small change made a big difference in his daily life. He began to notice how much lighter his heart felt when he talked about his worries. Even simple conversations helped him release pressure. Words that once stayed locked inside now had a place to go. He realized that keeping everything inside had made his world smaller. Sharing made his world feel bigger and more open. People around him also noticed a difference. He smiled more naturally. His eyes looked more relaxed. He did not seem as rushed or as tense as before. His work improved because his mind was clearer. He could focus better because he was not carrying silent stress all the time. The same people who once only saw him as independent now saw him as more balanced. She continued to be by his side, not as someone who controlled his life, but as someone who walked with him. Their connection felt stronger because it was built on honesty and trust. He did not have to pretend anymore. He did not have to wear a mask of constant strength. He could be real, and that made their bond deeper. There were moments when he still felt the urge to say, "I'll handle it myself." That voice inside him did not disappear completely. But now another voice existed too. A calmer voice that reminded him of teamwork. A voice that said, "You don't have to be alone." Many times he chose to listen to that new voice. Each time he did, he felt proud of himself for growing. He also started to support others in a different way. Because he had learned what it felt like to be overwhelmed, he became more understanding. When someone else looked tired or stressed, he paid attention. He listened. He offered help. In a way, his own journey taught him how important it is to stand beside others, just as someone had stood beside him. One day he looked back at his past and realized how far he had come. He remembered the nights of silent worry. He remembered the heavy feeling of carrying everything alone. He remembered how he believed that asking for help was weakness. Now those memories felt distant, not gone, but changed. They became reminders of how much he had grown. He understood now that strength was not about being alone. Strength was about connection. Strength was about trusting someone enough to share your struggles. Strength was about facing life with others instead of hiding behind a wall of independence. This new understanding gave him peace. She once told him that she was proud of him, not because he had become someone different, but because he had allowed himself to grow. Those words stayed with him. They reminded him that change does not mean losing who you are. It means becoming a better version of yourself. Their journey together was not perfect. They still faced problems. They still had stressful days. But now, those problems felt more manageable. They talked more. They planned together. They supported each other. Life did not become easy, but it became shared. That made all the difference. He also learned to forgive himself for not being perfect. Before, every mistake felt like proof that he was failing. Now, mistakes felt like part of learning. He no longer punished himself in his thoughts. He treated himself with more kindness. That inner change was one of the most powerful parts of his journey. Sometimes he would catch himself smiling for no clear reason. It was not because everything was perfect. It was because he felt lighter inside. He felt less alone in the world. He felt understood. That feeling was something he had not known he was missing until he experienced it. In quiet moments, he thought about that first conversation. He remembered her words clearly. "We finish everything together." At the time, those words had scared him. Now they felt like a promise that had changed his life. They became a symbol of a new way of living, a way built on trust, support, and shared strength. He realized that life is not meant to be a solo journey. Even the strongest people need someone to walk beside them. Even the most independent hearts need connection. This truth did not make him weaker. It made him wiser. As he moved forward, he carried this lesson with him. He knew there would be future challenges. He knew there would be hard days. But now, he also knew that he would not face them alone. He had learned to reach out. He had learned to share. He had learned that together is often stronger than alone. In the end, his story was not just about learning to accept help. It was about learning to live more fully. It was about choosing connection over silence. It was about turning independence into teamwork. What began as a simple sentence became a life-changing truth. From that point on, his strength was no longer measured by how much he could carry alone, but by how bravely he could walk forward with someone by his side.